Hello there, my name is Randy Helm. Today we are going to cover overbilling and underbilling that happens in the construction industry. When you have construction projects that last several months, the contractor will usually do progress billings each month until the job is complete. The revenue that shows on the income statement each month might be very different than what was billed to the customer, and we'll show you why this is. So if you're ready, let's begin. If you have a construction job that lasts only a week or so, and you bill for it all at once, the revenue and the billings match. There is no mystery as to what the profit level will be. If your job lasts, let's say, 9 months or more, you'll probably be billing the customer every month until the job is complete. It is these types of jobs that can cause confusion. The confusing part is what will show as revenue during the course of the job. In the accounting world, there are two main methods of showing revenue on these types of long-term jobs. There is the percentage of completion method, and there is the completed contracts method. For the completed contract method, you do not recognize the revenue or the expense until the job is completed. That seems easy, but as the company grows in size, this method is used less and less, and if your company grows big enough, this method will not even be allowed anymore. So let's focus on the percentage of completion method. It is called the percentage of completion method because you recognize the revenue based on how complete the job is. Let's say the job is 25% done, then you'll recognize 25% of the revenue. If the job is 75% done, you would recognize 75% of the revenue. The measure that is often used to tell how done the job is the actual costs, job to date, compared to the projected final cost for that job. This method has you recording revenue as you earn it. At any point in time, you generally know how much your contract is for and have a good idea how much the job will cost when it is done. This estimate is used in the calculation of the revenue as you go along. Now suppose you have a job where the contract amount is $500,000. The projected cost is $425,000. That leaves you gross profit of $75,000. Your gross margin, 15%. When you calculate the markup, it comes up to 17.6%. We're showing here the cost for each of the months during the job. So you see in month 1, there was only $2,500 of cost. Month 2 had $25,000 in cost. So at that point, the job to date cost was $27,500. And then you can see the rest of the numbers for the 9-month period. Now, let's take a look at the billing pattern. So let's suppose for the first month, they billed $5,000. That seems reasonable. Then for the second month, you billed $20,000. So the job to date billing at that point is $25,000. Let's go ahead and populate the rest of the months. You can see we peaked out at $138,000 in month 6. The total that was billed is $500,000, which was the contract amount. The total cost was $425,000 as projected. So for any given month, how much revenue was recognized? We will start with the first month. The effective markup is 17.6%. When we apply this to the $2,500 in costs that were incurred in month 1, we get an earned revenue of $29.41. The actual billing for the month was $5,000. The income statement would show the $29.41 as revenue, regardless of how much was billed. The difference between the actual billing and the revenue amount is called overbilling. This amount sits on the balance sheet and will not convert to revenue until you have generated enough cost to have earned it. The name of the general ledger account is usually something like billings in excess of cost. Now let's go to month 2. The costs have increased $25,000. So the job-to-date costs are now $27,500. Again, we apply the effective markup of 17.6% to calculate the earned revenue. So the job-to-date revenue that has been earned is now $32,353. If we bill the customer $20,000 this month, our job-to-date billings become $25,000. This amount is compared to the earned revenue of $32,353, and we see a difference of $73,53. This time, the earned amount is greater than the billed amount. This is an underbilling. This difference will sit on the balance sheet just like an overbilling would. The general ledger account is usually called something like cost in excess of billings. In month 3, we have another $35,000 in cost and billed the customer an additional $50,000. When we compare the amount of revenue earned job to date and the amount billed job to date, we get an overbilling of $1,471. And this back and forth will continue until the end of the job. At the end, when the costs are all in and the customer is billed in full, there is no longer an over or under billing. You've earned the full amount of the contract and you've billed it in full. Let me pause a minute and explain something. We use the term overbilling a lot in construction. That phrase sounds like a bad thing, but it is not. This just means that you are billing at a rate faster than what your accounting system shows for cost. In fact, in your best case scenarios, you will be overbilled up to the point to when the job is done. This helps the overall cash flow of the job. If you are either underbilled or billed at the exact amount that you have earned, your job is going to have a negative cash balance until you get to the end. If you are able to have a slight overbilling until the end of the job, you might be either cash neutral or slightly positive the whole way through. However, sometimes it is easier said than done, but that is the goal. Now, as you move forward in your job, you may realize that you are not going to perform exactly as budgeted. Let's look at the scenario where your costs exceed your budget and you cannot charge it back to your customer. Perhaps this was a hard bid job and you missed some important items in your estimate, or something else happened along the way. Up here on the left, we have the same job information that we had before. Then over here, we note that the final cost actually landed at $475 instead of $425. Now, as we move along from month 1, month 2, month 3, our job to date earned profit was based on the original projection. Then we get down to month 8. It looks like that our job to date profit is $83,824, but that's not quite right. You come over here, we have an underbilling of $58,824. This is because there are some costs that have been accumulating that we cannot bill for. So when that happens, you get to the end of the job, you have an extra, say, $50,000 of costs, you can't bill for it, and your reports are not showing it yet. Then what happens is when your job gets closed out in the system, that underbilling of $58,000 in this case is going to show up as a negative profit number in the month that the job gets closed out. As you can see, the earned monthly profit, it's moving along 4,000, 6,000, 13, 22, 22, 7, 7, and then it gets corrected at the end. Now, when you do learn that your budget is a bust or something else has happened in your job, you should adjust your expectations in the system as soon as you learn about it. Because when you are getting to that month 8, month 9 in this scenario, it is very frustrating for everybody involved to take this huge step backwards. you end up getting a lot of questions about what happened. But if you knew about it, say by month 4 or month 5, you could have adjusted the numbers, had that conversation earlier in the game, and just have a smoother ending. Now let's look at a better scenario where your costs are going to be lower than budget. And in this scenario, it is a hard bid job. So you get to keep all of the savings. We start out with the same original projections as before, where the contract amount is $500,000, the projected cost was $425,000. But this time, as we get towards the end of the job, our final costs are actually only $405,000, so there's a $20,000 savings. What you'll see as you move along in the job is that at the end, or where those savings start to manifest themselves, this time it's in actually month 7 when our costs are lower than in the first example. We have an overbilling of $24,471. And since we're this close to the end of the job, that's a good sign that things are going well. And so in month 8, we only have costs of $2,500 for the month. Our costs stabilize at $405, and it looks like we have an overbilling of $23,000. So when we close up the job, that overbilling goes to profit. And that month 9, when you looked at the income statement, it shows a large profit for the month. So that's what happens when you actually are going to do better than the original projection. You end up with some overbilling that really is a profit component that you aren't yet realizing. If you were to go and adjust the projections in the system, you would start to recognize those profits sooner. But if you do not adjust the projections in the system, you'll end up recognizing that profit when you close out the job. If your job had been set up as a strict T&M job, then these two scenarios that we just walked through would not really apply. The scenario where your costs are greater than the projection and you cannot recoup it from the owner, and the scenario where there's a savings and you get to keep the savings. If it was strictly a T&M job, then those two scenarios would not apply. In a future video, we will look deeper at the cost flows of jobs and the impact that underbilling has on the overall profit levels and cash position for the company. So stay tuned. This has been Managing Your Business by the Numbers. My name is Randy Helm. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to look for new videos from me soon. If you liked what you saw, be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so that you do not miss out on any new material. Also, please leave a comment down below if there is a topic you would like me to cover. Until next time, have a good day.